Yes, it's yet another episode of Two Up Front. We're supposed to be talking about the four, the four,
The
the
Four
United,
Horsemen.
that
The
United
Four
goal. But we're
Horsemen.
not gonna get into that. We'll get into other stuff. What's up, everyone? My name is Jay. I'm not by myself. I'm joined by the man who supports the four. What up, Chuck?
Shots at the beginning of the show.
Ah, man.
Nah, but it's fine. It's fine. Let's go into other stuff that are important, like Pep firing shots at the whole country, basically, in terms of their allegiance, apparently, to Liverpool.
Yes, one Pep Guardiola following Manchester City's win, 5-0 win against Newcastle. He came out with a quote that said, "The people want Liverpool to win more than us. It's not an issue. It's normal. Maybe they have more supporters all around the world. In England, maybe more support Liverpool than us." This, by the way, was following a question where the reporter asked him that now you've got the 3 point lead with 3 games to go, and everyone outside is chanting Campione, Campione. Do you think you've managed to win the Premier League? Essentially, like you're not going to give up the lead. This is the answer he gave to the question. Do you think it's in the bag? So, what do you think is happening here, Chuck? Like, why does he say this in that moment? What does he mean by these comments?
I think he was scratching an itch at something maybe he's wanted to say all along, and the right question never came. It's like, well, I'll tell you anyway. I think, number one, I think we have to factor in the capitulation in the Champions League. I feel that the only thing that they get from this season is the league title, and they've been pushed towards the end, all the way, by Liverpool. And I think that is the pressure that Pep is under. That well, it could have been a better season, and Liverpool is fighting on four fronts to get like 4 trophies, and everyone wants Liverpool to do it. It seems, and so according to him,
Do you
everyone
feel
is
like that as well?
supporting.
So, do you agree with him that there is a support? One, are Liverpool the most supported team? Like, and is there, even from the neutral standpoint, because we know Liverpool fans obviously will back Liverpool, but from the neutral standpoint, do you think the neutral vote, overwhelmingly so, goes to Liverpool in the chase for even the Premier League?
I think so, man. In terms of how if you could say Liverpool is more the working class team in terms of how it was built, the budget that was used to build the actual team, whereas Pep gets all the money that he wants, signs all the players that he wants, and it basically comes into setups that are already completed. Where you think Bayern Munich, you think Barcelona, and he adds, I mean, not to take away that he's a great coach, but he adds the Pep magic on top. And so when you look at how it's been a long time running for Liverpool to get their first trophy in, 30 years, right? And then them pushing them close all along, and then the support for. City have been winning stuff, and it's become normal, and everyone is cheering someone else now. And I think that's what Pep has a problem with. That you guys never cheer us, you never come to the party when we are on the verge of winning things. You don't back us when we're playing a Lyon or a Real Madrid. You are more vocal about your support for Liverpool against Villarreal or their quest against Tottenham or Liverpool. It's more vocal, it's more audible. You see it more, and so I think he might have a point, but it's an insignificant point, I think. I mean, what do you do with that? You feel that way, and so what?
It's interesting because very much to the point that you're making about the being knocked out of the Champions League. We know at this point the thing that Manchester City, the owners, the coach himself, and the players and the fan base, the thing they covered most is the Champions League.
Yep.
And this is yet another season where they did not win the Champions League, and under some amazing scenes. The manner in which they got knocked out was a gut punch for Manchester City. It was amazing for Madrid, those fans, but on the other side of that equation, there's Pep and Manchester City and the narrative that they've been going for this title over and above the league and whatever else competition that they're in. And 2 minutes to go, they're through to a second consecutive final, and then that is snatched from them. And you hear then the comments that come, right? That once again, it's a failure by Pep. He hears this.
Yeah.
He hears this from the fans. He hears this from the media. Whereas when you look at his competitors, there is no scenario other than perhaps Liverpool only coming away from this season with the Carabao Cup where their season might be viewed as a fail. Even then, I don't think you'll hear things like Liverpool choked, or you'll hear things like Klopp is a fraud.
Yeah.
Whereas with Pep, he doesn't win the Champions League. Just that, he doesn't win the Champions League, and that is the thing that goes around. But and the thing is, post the Real Madrid match though, he cut a figure of someone who was well composed, and then here he capitulated because
Yeah.
when I consider the other press conference that he was in, he was talking a lot, Chuck. And what I think is happening here, Pep is trying to control a narrative. Pep wants his team to be loved because he does not understand the fact that we likely produce the best football and we are consistent, going for a fourth title in 5. And essentially, if you look at it, we are the second team in Manchester. Even when you compare it to Liverpool, we are the lesser team. We're the smaller team. We don't have as great a history. And he speaks about that. He says that they've got a great history in Europe. But then he fires shots at them that in the Premier League, they've only won one in 30 years, which is ridiculous for me because I hate this notion that the Premier League is viewed as something other than the continuation of top division football in England. Liverpool have 19 titles. You can't just look at the one in the Premier League era because then he's comparing it to City they're going for the 6th in the Premier League era. But then if we cast back to entirety of your history or however 100 and whatever years, you only have the 7 titles, compared to double figures of United and Arsenal and Liverpool. But I don't like this from Pep because the other things that he was speaking about in a recent press conference, he talks about the fact that they down in terms of defenders, and now he says that they're only going to be trying to win the last 3 games with 13 guys. He also speaks about the fact that the game that is coming up on Wednesday, that is the real final they're playing. Now this is the real final because you're not going to be playing a final of the Champions League. So I think he feels the pressure of not winning the Champions League. And I think he feels the negative comments that are aimed towards him around that. And he is trying to salvage a narrative whereby they are the underdog and they are the ones who should be supported. And also where you come away from the season thinking that, no, Pep and his City team have had a great season.
So, do you think? Because I hear you say you don't like the comments. Do you think it's not right for Pep to finally push back? Because no one gets.
But who's he pushing back against?
The narrative and the entire idea that has been formed by the media. Because no one gets labeled a failure like of all the other top ranked managers, and when they don't win something. Because I think apart from his first season, Pep has won something every other season, at least one trophy. And even there's space to be said that there's a failure in some part of the season, because when Liverpool don't win the league, it's fine. They tried. They pushed Pep all the way. When United finished second, Ole is loaded, and he wasn't really the guy. And there's always space to criticize Pep. There's always space to criticize Pep's team. That's why even before the Champions League, it's like, oh, I'm going to overthink it again. I'm going to play 13 players. I'm going to do this sarcastically because it never happens to anyone else. And everyone else gets knocked out because if they weren't, then Liverpool would have 5 titles. Chelsea would have 5, but they don't. Between now and the last 5 years, they only have won it once. And now Pep has got 0 with City, but no one says those things about those other managers. So I think he's trying to push back at some point because you guys are never really on my side. I mean, and also I think in terms of the support with COVID as well. Remember when they were showing like fans broadcasting, streaming from they were broadcasting pictures of fans who were streaming from their homes onto the stadiums, and they couldn't even fill up that monitor with with actual fans. And I think it's really just a numbers game, whereas there are more fans for Liverpool and Chelsea and Arsenal and United. I think people who support City now, most of them, not most, I'd say maybe 30% are on the hype train. Ever since the money came, they're on the hype train. You can find long-lived supporters for Liverpool, Arsenal, and whatnot. Chelsea, the friends of ours who support Chelsea, I don't know that they supported Chelsea before the Abramovich money.
Man, that's what they've said, but like, I don't know.
There's no record as well, So I think it's a similar picture. So my question back to you, Jay, is that do you think it's right for him to push back? Because it seems to not happen to anyone else but him.
Honestly, yes and no. I'll start with a yes. I've been on social media, and one of the comments that I've seen, and it's popped up a few times, that City need to fire Pep, and that is overly critical. If a guy is gonna be winning his 4th title in 5 years,
what more do you want?
Sure, you won the Champions League, right? But to fire him because he's not won the Champions League, if you look back at Sir Alex Ferguson's career, United also won those first 7 or 6 titles in 7 years or whatever that stat is. And United only won their first Champions League under Sir Alex in 99. That was 13 years into his tenure as United coach. And that was 7 years into the dominance of United. and he only has two. Pep does have the two, and yes, he's going for the Champions League. So I think in terms of when you look at him as someone who is failing, I don't think I would attach that term that he's failed. He's failed to win the Champions League, yes, but overall, is his body of work with Manchester City because he's not done the thing that other coaches who've coached City have failed to do. He's not done the thing that, well, they believed he's the guy who's going to push you over the top. Because, Chuck, if Pep Guardiola is on the market as a coach, which other coach in the world is any team who's looking for a coach going to go for ahead of Pep? Who's going to look at his resume and say, well, we're a big team who's trying to do big things, but that guy over there, Pep Guardiola, has not won a Champions League in a decade. He's not the guy we're going to go for. If Pep Guardiola is available, almost every team in the world goes for him. So I think on that end, he has a right to say, y'all are ridiculous.
Yeah.
Right back at you, because what more do you want? He's putting 90 points on the board, and there's the thing that people complain about, like a style of play. You know exactly what they want to do. They don't have, quote unquote, a traditional striker, but they are, again, this season they've scored the most goals in the Premier League. So on that end, yes. The part of no, he also needs to recognize that he is the coach of Manchester City. He has to recognize how Manchester City came about to be a Big Six team, to be a team that now has expectations of winning the Champions League. It is because they are pumped full of money by backers who don't also necessarily have the best track record in terms of like human rights efforts and things of that nature, and the nature of football. The fans react to the idea that they are buying their success, and Pep Guardiola joins Manchester City in this iteration of Manchester City because of the fact that they have bought their way to the status. You know, there's no way he coaches Manchester City 15 years ago when they are bouncing between the Premier League and like the Championship, like Fulham or Norwich. There's no way he's even looking in their direction in as the coach that he is, and he is someone who joined a front runner. And he is great, but he's also a front runner because from Barcelona, he goes to the treble-winning Bayern Munich. And that brings its own pressures, and it also brings its own negative comments, you know? And if you're going to be coaching Manchester City, you know what that comes with. And so at the point where, people are not backing you because you are the juggernaut, you are the favorites, and people want to pivot and throw their support behind what they perceive to be the underdog, that is a story as old as time. That's how it's going to be. As I'm saying, you're not taking some team from the doldrums and then you've transformed them into...
It's not a Leicester story.
It really isn't. Yeah. And he knows that. And seeing that he does know that, man, get off it.
Final question. Do you think then this means...
Can I just say before you go?
Yeah.
He was the guy who said they don't have any money to sign any strikers. Remember when they were asking him? And then he went and he put in a bid of 150 million for Harry Kane.
And signed Grealish as well in that same window.
And what are we supposed to say? Oh man, they're struggling. They only manage only 100 million pounds for Grealish instead of the 150 for Kane.
So there's no sympathy from you.
Not on that end. On the end where like people are saying that he's failed at Man City. Yeah, on that end, even then it's not sympathy. It's just to those fans and that group of people, chill, you know. But feeling sorry for Pep, no ways, Chuck. Now when he has everything that he has, like there's no way.
So what do you think this brings? Say this is the Pep that we have for the rest of like the new season going forward. Do you think this aids his team, that he's more open and he's more candid about things, that this is how I feel and this is how we play, and you guys are never on our side? You know how Mourinho was always on the offensive, defending his team all the time, and he was protecting his players all the time. Well, up until like the third year, that's when things turn the other way around and he's criticizing his dressing room. But do you think this works in favor of City to say, yeah, we've done a lot of things wrong and whatnot, but when we are doing things right, you're never there to celebrate with us. But when we're doing things wrong, you're quick to show up there and say, we failed, we've done this and done that. Does this aid City, or do you think it matters at all?
I think it might. When you are very good, when you're trying to achieve something and your starting position is not one that is just laden with privilege, then you need to find something that is a chip on your shoulder. You need to find something that gives you something to aim for.
Mm.
And it's hard for a Pep Guardiola team to view themselves as underdogs. And I think maybe he might be thinking around this. This is infamously Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan, all the talent in the world, and the hardest worker in the world. And he was the world champion, and he was very clearly the most dominant basketball player in his time, perhaps of all time. And yet, while he was destroying opponents, he found things so that could motivate him to actually play at a high level. That he heard someone say, okay, Jordan is dropping 40, he can't drop 50. It's like, okay, I'm gonna show you.
Yeah.
Really, is that a criticism? But you find these things, and
Yeah.
I think it might aid them to have this. It's us against the world because they have the trinkets. They've got the championships, and now, what motivation do they need to go win the Champions League? If you come into the season with that idea that everybody's telling you that you can't win the Champions League, I mean, in reality, you're one of the favorite 4 teams next season again to win the Champions League. But if they adopt the mentality that no one is expecting it of them, or everyone is expecting that they're going to choke at some point, then it might be for their benefit.
And so from the docu, we find the quote, and I took that personally, which is
Yeah.
Pep. And Pep went on, and it sounds imminent, signed Haaland. And we'll go on to that.
They signed Haaland, Chuck. Is if they win the title, and then they get a striker, adding to them being the highest goal scorers again this season, is there any chance for anyone next season?
I don't think so.